We'll take an even deeper dive now. Our financial consultant, Rick Reagan, joining us now to help us break apart what it means for the economy and for your money.
All right, Rick, we could probably take an hour or two to do this.
Yeah.
We're going to have about 5 minutes to get into this a little bit deeper here today.
Well, I guess I'll just jump in. I'll be honest with you. I was a bit surprised. I thought the indications coming out earlier in the day was that it would not be as big of tariffs, and that's why we saw the markets rallying during the day. This is worse than we thought. He basically came across with a 10% minimum tariff they're going to be putting on everybody, and then select countries much more than that. So one of the ones he had signaled out, he held up a big board showing what they are, and he tried to compare it to the current tariffs they're charging us. So the European Union, for example, he says they're charging us 39%. Again, these are numbers coming from the administration. That they charge is not my number. The U.S. is going to charge the EU 20%, and my understanding is that's on top of current tariffs. Okay, the United Kingdom charges us 10. We're going to be charging them 10. They got off easier. You take a look at Japan. It says they're charging 46%. Going to be charging 24%. I don't have China on that, but I think it was an additional 34% on China, on top of the 20 or 25%. I can't remember which one it is right now. So if that's true, you're looking at a 50% combined tariff on China. We get a lot of goods from China right there. So the markets, when it first came out, the markets actually went up a little bit. It was after hours, but we can watch how things are trading after hours. But the second he unveiled that board and those tariffs, we saw the S&P 500 drop by close to 3%. It was down about 2.5% when I came on air. So no doubt about it. You know, my takeaway from this is it is bigger than what we were expecting. And I think it's going to cause some market fluctuation as we work through this.
A lot of people wondering, too, how it's going to affect prices. How much is it going to affect what I pay for things? What do you think?
So I have no idea, Christy, how much, because it's going to depend. But there's only 3 ways that this gets paid. The first one is what we can hope for. The company producing the product in whatever foreign country absorbs this. Unlikely, but they'll likely take some of that. The other one is a company here in the United States that importing it. They absorb some of that cost increase. That's likely, but it's not great for your stocks because it decreases the profitability of the companies. And then, of course, the third one is we as consumers pay more. My guess is for most product, it's going to be some combination of those 3. We just don't know what combination. Goldman Sachs, before the announcement, so they didn't know the details, they had estimated we might see inflation going from around 2.8% this year on that up to as much as 3.5%. So again, it's early days, so I don't have the exact number right now.
Right. The whole idea, though, the president said of these tariffs was to level the playing field. Do we have any indication that that's actually what's going to happen? He has some numbers.
Yeah, so I was careful to say those weren't my numbers that you saw. Yeah. So finding exactly what the tariffs are being charged, I mean, it's harder to get into Fort Knox. It's been really difficult data, but what I can tell you for a fact is other countries are, for the most part, charging much higher tariffs, other non-tariff barriers that we've got. So he does have a point. It's not out of the blue. Right. We are being charged more. The question is the reaction, and then, of course, what effect it has on us. And is this just the opening of a negotiation? They don't seem to be indicating that, but maybe they're playing hardball. We're going to find out a lot in the days to come.
All right, here we go. Here's the big question. How's this going to affect the stock market?
Well, like I said, it was down 2.5% when I was coming on air here. So not a great thing for the stock market, but you know me, I like to bring something with me that gives you a little bit of feel better. This is what happened. The chart you're looking at was back in the beginning of 2018 when Trump put tariffs on China. And what you see in that really big drop right there is in 6 days, the market sold off 10%. All right. You'll notice that just a few months later, and those tariffs were never removed. A few months later, the stock market had regained all of that. And what I was hoping coming into this is, you know, we were down close to 10% right now. I was hoping this time the market had moved ahead of those tariffs coming. Yeah. But with that said, you know, tariffs on everybody is different than that example, which was just tariffs on China. But the idea here is, yeah, you can come, in the past, it does come back. And, you know, it's not the end of the world. There's tons of other things that go in the economy, but it does have an effect on things.
Just quickly before we go, you making any adjustments for your clients as far as where their money is right now? You're usually a kind of stay the course kind of guy.
But we came into the year positioned more conservatively with clients, you know, because of these fears. But
getting ahead of it.
Trying to get ahead of that. But I wouldn't be reacting right now. I don't think you're going to go out and sell. And by the way, something, Christy, you would remember I had said before, and that is that I think the Trump administration, reading between the tea leaves, is trying to get their bad news out in the first half of this year. And then the second half of the year, it's likely they pivot to deregulation and extending the Trump tax cuts. That's really good tailwinds for the market. So we'll see how long the tariff debate lasts, but there is other stuff out there that is positives, but at least temporarily right now, it's going to be tariffs 24/7 for us here.
Rick, we always appreciate your expertise. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rick.
Good day to come in today. Thank